apologize. Mrs. Padmini Menon, Mr. Ram Menon, Vijay, members of the Menon family, other distinguished friends on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. Vijay, first of all, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction you gave to me earlier. I'm always grateful for good introductions. Don't always get them. A few days ago, somebody was trying to introduce me and meant to say that Mr. Anand Mahindra needs no introduction. Unfortunately, his English wasn't that good, so he said the less said about Mr. Anand Mahindra, the better. Which may be true. I don't know whether he meant it. I'd prefer to think it was his English at fault. Anyway, I was going to apologize for the delay, and Mr. Bhave said that he's grateful I delayed. I'm no Jyotishi, Mr. Bhave. I didn't know you were going to have a heart attack, but I'm very, very glad that you're well and looking healthy and here. On the other hand, I wasn't going to apologize, Vijay, because you said you blamed the delay on the recession. So in true Udyogpati style, I'm going to pass the buck on to the recession and not take the blame, as you said. But it is an honor and a privilege to be here today. A lot of the speakers have already talked about the extraordinary relationship between Menon and our own company. In fact, I think all of you may know the story of how M&M got its name. It was originally Mahindra and Mohammed prior to independence, when it was started in 1945. The partner was originally a gentleman named Mr. Ghulam Mohammed. And then after partition, in 47, Ghulam Mohammed went over to Pakistan. So my grandfather, Mr. J.C. Mahindra, and my granduncle, Mr. K.C. Mahindra, who had just started this company, didn't really want to spend more money on new stationery. We had already said M&M, that's why it became Mahindra and Mahindra. Now, I'm not sure whether Menon and Menon had the same kind of origin, but I have to tell you that after hearing all the stories about the support that you have given to us, I'm not surprised if somebody mistakenly refers to M&M as Mahindra and Menon. But that's why I'm very, very pleased today that Mr. Baptiste D'Souza is here. He's an old friend, my first guru at M&M. Taught me what a shop floor looks like, and also how to relax occasionally, both at lunch and on the dance floor. So I owe all my bad dancing to Mr. Baptiste D'Souza. But really, it's people like him, pioneers like him, who created this relationship and who built the foundation on which people like me claim success. And we all know, all of us who work in business know that there is no one individual who makes a company. You talk about TPM that I saw so much of today. I see the father of TPM in Mahindra, Mr. Raghavan, sitting in front of me. I see Rajan Vadera, who's new to us, but Rajan, a lot expected of you. Don't go by all this leadership stuff. It's people like you who do all the work, so we'll be watching you. In fact, I remember, ladies and gentlemen, when I was president of CII a year ago, I was told at the end of my term that I was the only president of CII whose company's stock price went up while I was president. I'm not sure that's a compliment, because obviously there was some link between my absence and the good performance of the company. So when I finished my term, all my colleagues told me that, why don't you check if there's a vacancy at FICCI, maybe we can get you away for one more year and the stock price will double again. But anyway, when I think of the relationship, coming back to our links between the Mahindra and Menon group, I'm really reminded of a story from the Mahabharata. This was from the 15th day of the Battle of Kurukshetra, and the Kauravas were under enormous pressure. They had lost their great general Bhishma to Arjun's arrows, and the Pandavas, who were obviously enraged by the death of Abhimanyu, were really unleashing the full fury of their strength on the Kaurav armies. So Bhim's son Ghatotkach, he was causing havoc in their ranks. So Ghatotkach, who seemed very, very invincible at that time, almost armed with supernatural powers, attacked them from the sky, rained down arrows on them. He fought them with his deadly sword. He apparently had the powers to become invisible at will, used his powers to create fires, floods, storms against the Kaurav armies. And at that point, as we all know, all seemed lost for the Kaurav armies. And there was only one man who could save the day, and that was Karna. So the army begged him to defeat Ghatotkaч and to save them from the impending doom. Taking stock of that situation, Karna slowly drew out the Brahmastra, wonderful weapon as we know given to him by Lord Indra, hurled it at the mighty Ghatotkaч with a powerful throw. Ghatotkaч fell to the ground, and Karna's army lived on to fight another day, as we all know. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in 1973, Mahindra and Mahindra faced its own Ghatotkaч in the form of an oil crisis. The Gulf War and its aftermath, as we all know, had set petrol prices soaring. Mahindra and Mahindra in those days made only petrol vehicles, and our sales went for a complete toss. Fell from 10,000 units to only 3,000, I believe, Baptist. That's the figures that are given. Company's survival was at stake. So M&M's team, engineers team led by Kumar Sardesai, Baptist D'Souza, came up with a very, very innovative solution. They modified and adapted the diesel engine that used to be on our tractors and fitted it onto the Jeep, and that was the time that the first diesel Jeep in India was born. The real challenge, as we all know, is of course how do you productionize this innovation? To translate this theoretical solution into reality was absolutely critical to source high quality machined cylinder blocks within what seemed to be an almost impossible time. And like Karan, Mr. Menon came to our rescue. In spite of having very little previous experience in this field, Mr. Menon teamed up with our engineers, threw himself heroically into battle. He delivered ahead of time with excellent quality, starting up production much ahead of what we had worst feared, and really, in a sense, playing a key role in our survival. Like Karan, he literally saved the day for M&M. That year, the Mahindra and Mahindra balance sheet mentioned and acknowledged the great contribution of Shri Chandran Menon. M&M's relationship with the Menon Group persists to this day, and that is why it is such a great privilege for me to be here today. And why I'm glad that Vijay, you persisted and insisted that I be here. Of course, Mr. Menon was a great deal luckier than Karan. For Karan was forced to use his most powerful weapon against Ghatotkaч, with the result that he was unable to use it in his final battle against Arjun. Mr. Menon, on the other hand, apparently had an inexhaustible supply of powerful weaponry. So he took his companies from strength to strength, higher and higher up the value chain in his lifetime. Now I use the word luckier than Karan, but if you look at it and you read his biography, luck had very, very little to do with his success. He made his own luck. The journey from a one-man, small facility operating out of a rented space to the size that the Menon Group is today was not propelled by luck, by vision, commitment to high standards, grit, and above all, hard work. When young people ask me today for some kind of magic formula for their own progress and for India's progress, I just suggest to them 3 I's. As a management consultant, you will know the usefulness of giving such simple formulae. And the formula, the 3 I's, stands for innovation, Indianness, and involvement. I bring it up because Mr. Menon, in my opinion, possessed those 3 I's in great abundance. He first of all rendered invaluable support to Mahindra and Mahindra, was innovative, and helped us turn a problem into an opportunity. As for Indianness, he brought to his team a particularly Indian ingenuity. And it's only after I started serving on the National Innovation Foundation, which is a national level board started by the government, that I came to understand the true Indian genius at all levels, not just in large companies, not just in industry, but in farms, in rural areas. The true Indian genius for providing very Indian solutions to Indian problems. People without much formal education, who use their native ingenuity to make life better for people around them and to earn profit for themselves. These are the kind of people who regularly win the Foundation's awards for innovation. But Mr. Menon seemed to have realized this much longer than the National Innovation Foundation. I believe he had a great gift for spotting talent, for training it, for retaining it. And many of his most valuable people, I understand, Vijay, were not people who were highly qualified in the conventional sense of the term. They possessed in abundance that particular unique Indian quality to use innovation to deliver high quality at a very low cost. And that's a phrase I'm using more and more often. That India's competitive advantage is not low cost, it's not just high quality, but it's the lowest cost per unit of innovation. That is what is going to take us ahead of China, not simply low cost. And I believe your father was a pioneer in showing the way in that direction. Finally, of course, coming to involvement, Mr. Menon's involvement has been referred to by speakers ahead of me, with his people, with his customers. And that involvement, I think, is legendary in Indian industry. Our problem always became his problem. And he was no ivory tower technocrat. He was hands-on. One of our old employees told me that how when he visited Mr. Menon's shop floor, inevitably he'd find Mr. Menon right there on the shop floor, helping out with problems day or night. The standards that he has set have obviously, therefore, cast a very, very long shadow. Just the other day, the president of the Maharashtra Economic Development Council was telling me that they are planning to leverage Kolhapur's strong base in castings, forgings, and auto components to transform Kolhapur into a global engineering hub. Now, I'm sure that in spite of the lack of facilities like world-class infrastructure, which of course I hope the government will remedy, and I hope you will lobby for very strongly, and I'd be happy to join you in that lobbying effort, that dream will come true. And I'm hopeful that one day people will speak of Kolhapur in the same breath as Detroit. Finally, coming back to the reason for today's function, the launch of the biography of Sri Chandran Menon, Casting a Destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an age of information overload, too much information. And the issue for us is, what is the quality of that information that we are bombarded with every day? And we are fed every day with reams of information, loads of inconsequential information about every kind of thing, every page 3 celebrity. What we don't hear enough about is about people like Mr. Menon. The people who really roll up their sleeves, work with their hands, use their heads, and who laid the foundation of modern India. So this biography, in my opinion, was a book that was crying out to be written. It is a pleasure and a privilege, therefore, for me to launch it today. May it be a source of illumination and inspiration for many, and may it be a modern-day Brahmastra for all the entrepreneurs of the future. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.